If we think about both articles, one article is from the Talent Strategy Group and Mark Efron. When Mark released an article regarding how to create a talent strategy, which is interesting because Talent Strategy Group has never put anything out about how to create a talent strategy. It definitely caught my attention. And it's really broken down into four pillars if you think about it. The first is, in order to create a great strategy, you need to identify your business strategic drivers. One of the things that I think is most important as a talent professional is that everything that we create, every action that we take, must be aligned to moving the business forward. Then, if we switch to kind of the Gartner article and the 6 predictions, right, for the future of performance management, we're seeing a lot of things happen in the market today. First of all, we're seeing what we'll call work-life balance, some of your personal goals coming into effect in the workplace as well.
I'll just throw in something out there. I'm not sure if this is the article you're referring to, but the Gartner one, I'm more curious about the notion of reflecting more context and empathy. So can you say more about that?
Yeah, I was just going to say, so what I sort of took from the article was interesting that you raised that about empathy, Tomas, because I just came from the DEI session that DX was leading a kind of a roundtable discussion with that. And they have a framework called CARE, and it's really anchored in empathy. And I think really the idea in this Gartner article about empathy is that we take into consideration more than just the work portion of somebody's life. And I think that's really what we're hearing from employees in any studies that have been done with the pandemic and people being remote and maybe having a little bit more spotlight. But for me, the article was about taking into consideration more than just the employee's work life, but what's happening beyond that. Are there issues or concerns that they're having at home? Is there, something new? They had an example about a high performer who is maybe taking on a new skill or a new project, new function, all of that sort of context in somebody's performance rather than just the goals that they set forth in the beginning of the year.
I want to go on record saying I came this close in my former organization to abolishing the performance appraisal, which I believe would have been, no, I know it would have been the most popular thing HR had ever done in the history of HR. And I really do feel like we keep tweaking around the edges, and the only real thing that we can do is radically shift paradigm. And to me, that means throw it all out, throw the form out, throw the process out, move to a continuous improvement culture, give leaders the skills they would need if they had the form in front of them, but they can't figure it out, and shift the entire dynamic.
I think that was probably what we were trying to get at it, those number of years ago, where like, just blow it all up, right? Just do away with everything. And I think to Tomas's point, the helping leaders know how to hold those conversations is I don't know if it's a challenging part. It was kind of this philosophical conversation I had with Dirk, which is why we're here today, because it's the learning around that and helping leaders gain the skills to hold those conversations. And so actually one of the questions that I had was, what are people doing in that space? Because I don't necessarily want to call it performance management training, right? In our organization, I actually removed the word performance management from what we did, and I called it quarterly connections. And so every quarter, it's really having, talk to people about having conversations on a regular, ongoing basis, feedback, coaching, recognition, and having a little bit more of a formalized dialogue once a quarter where you're checking in with people on development plans and goals. And so, I was hopeful that removing kind of that, just even the words performance management from anything that we did around this process would be, a little bit less scary for the organization who really hadn't engaged in it before and trying to make everything sit in the back seat, as you're talking about. But I feel like that wasn't enough. But I still feel like it hasn't been anchored enough or something. I'm not sure what it is, but to your point, Steve, like doing away with all of it so that the conversation really sits at the core in the center. And I'm not quite sure, again, this is why we're here to figure out, how to do that more of or differently.